Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Friday in the Riv, and boy, we got so many things to talk about. I'm glad we're not restricted by 30 minutes. We will probably go over on today's show.
Well, we're
So,
going to go over anyhow because we had a delay on starting the stream to YouTube. So, because of that, we were locked on our logo for a little bit of time, which I apologize for. That's my fault. So, we'll move from there.
okay, well, we got a ton of stuff to talk about. Before we talk about it, let's just make something clear, at least from my perspective. Uh, CJ runs aboard. The last show we had a whole bunch of commentary, which wasn't commentary. This is our show. We present facts and we present our opinions. And I'm not gonna. I am not. You can call me anything you want. We're not suppressing anybody's First Amendment rights, but as far as I'm concerned, I am not going to tolerate people giving me political talking points, not facts. I don't want to hear it. We're going to declare this a no BS zone here. I don't want to hear that you feel safe in this city because if you do, you're in a minority. I don't care. I really don't care because that's not what the facts say. There were 55 shootings since January. We were number one in crime, and we were number seven before that. We were still in the top 10. We're going to have a whole show about some of the things that are going on with the suppression of accurate information about the crime in Fall River. That is coming up. That'll probably be the first thing on our agenda. So I don't want to hear people call them McCoogan talking points. You want to go on Facebook and say that you're just like Nancy Pelosi, that you feel safe in your gated community while San Francisco burns, that there's no crime, that's fine. But we're not gonna waste time with doing that. And that gesture is at CJ for even tolerating it, because I'm not gonna tolerate it. Okay? So we we're gonna deal with facts. And one of the first facts we're gonna talk about is the Maplewood meeting. We know that they talked about the 55 shootings, the 3 to 4 car thefts a day. And now, at the most recent Flint Association meeting, the police officer did not want to give the number of crimes. He said he was told not to do it. And then he made some lame excuse about, well, we don't want to confuse things like shoplifting and stuff. What do you mean you don't want to confuse it? People got to know about crime. Is shoplifting a crime? Well, maybe not in Seattle and Philadelphia where they're destroying the cities, in Chicago where the $1 Million Mile is shut down, where hundreds of Target stores are leaving because of shoplifting. You don't think that's a crime? You don't think that hurts a community and businesses? And by the way, I remember when you went to meetings and gave every crime and what they were. You said which one was shoplifting, attempted rapes, shootings. They used to print it in the Herald News. But this is a conscious effort to suppress the truth about crime by the mayor, because he keeps saying that this city's okay, and it's not. Okay? It is not okay. 55 shootings. There was a state police joint operation in Fall River that nobody knew about until the state police said it. And CJ, you got that video. You got it, but I'm going to hold it up here quickly, and you can give it better on because we've got it downloaded. This is a picture of the state police gang unit in Fall River. Does anybody know that the state police gang unit was operating in Fall River? Well, I guess that proves we got a little bit of crime, doesn't it? And we've got some other things too. But this is dangerous to the public. You don't want to tell people in their neighborhoods that there's crime in their neighborhood? Well, if you do, Paul, if there's a crime, if somebody walks out of their house thinking they live in that dream city that some of these people talk about, and they get mugged, you should be prosecuted as an accessory before, during, and after the fact of that mugging. Because you want to suppress the truth. We're not telling you. If there's no crime, great. Say there's no crime. You can't go to a neighborhood association and just say, well, there's crime. You don't think people deserve that? And by the way, didn't everybody there? You serve the community? Didn't you swear an oath to be answerable to the people? You're doing this because you don't want to admit that you've been lying about crime since you got into office and you haven't done a damn thing about it. And that's coming out now. And it wasn't coming out because you unveiled your curtain that you draped over Malone and draped over Perry and draped over all the issues in a police department, that we don't know anything that's ever been done to fix anything. It was done because two state police officers outed you at a neighborhood meeting. So what was your action? Shut them up. No talk about the crime. Just say this crime. So this, and I'm glad Jeffrey's on, because I know Jeffrey was at that Flint meeting. And with that, I am going to turn it over to you, CJ.
Well, I'll tell you right now, this is getting to be a little ridiculous with, as you see, Jeffrey Gaudreau is, I guess, going to be vice president of the Flint Neighborhood Association. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Carlos wants to I wasn't there for the vote. But Jeffrey is on the board of the Flint Neighborhood Association, so he knows what went on there. And he's right. The people have a right to know, just as Chip is right. We have a right to know. But, we're not getting that information. I'm going to put something else up, which might be interesting. This is a message from a woman on O'Grady Street, I believe it is, whose car was broken into. And somehow, I guess they were trying to steal it. And obviously, she was very adamantly upset about it. And she does have the video, which I'm going to play right now. So as you can see, as the woman said, I guess when he left, he couldn't jump the fence into O'Grady Street. So she must have been on Lindsay Street. I'm not sure. Still looking for people to help out with video footage. If you're from O'Grady or Linden Street and feel you can help, please contact me. She posted this on Facebook. She posted the video on Facebook, and it was necessary. And obviously we know it was necessary because there it is. So you have to make it clear that this isn't a game anymore. This is real crime. And that's technically not in the Flint area, but I mean, it's close enough. I know the Flint area has now been expanded to include Bedford Street and parts of Bedford Street and whatnot. I think O'Grady and Linden is in Lower Highlands or something along that line. But again, this is crime, and we need to know what crime is.
You're right, CJ. Listen, these people love to minimize crime, but just look what happens when it goes unaddressed, as it has been in this city. It doesn't get better. Look at what's happened in San Francisco. Look what happened in Philadelphia last night and the night before, where they were looting. Listen, shoplifting is a serious crime, and sometimes it actually escalates into even more serious crime. It's serious because how many stores are closing up? How many people are losing their jobs in these communities where there are literally hundreds of Target stores closing up? The entire $1 Million Mile in Chicago is gone now. It's not a serious crime, but what happens when shoplifters somebody attempts to stop them from shoplifting. The employees get assaulted. It ends up with assault and battery, possibly assault with deadly weapons, and maybe even a murder. People, these politicians. Listen, if you wanna start giving us those talking points, let's start at the top. Why don't you and your political talk start? The border is closed. Even though 10,000 people a day are coming across the border is closed, there's no inflation, there's no homelessness, and crime is just merely reparations. So if you want to spin it that way, you do it. But anybody that believes you has to have the same political agenda as you do. Because these things destroy a society. That's one of the 4 predictors of the demise of a society, if you look it up. And this is what we've got. And to have a mayor who's sworn to serve the people of this city, to knowingly promote the suppression of information to the people, that's malfeasance on the part of a public official. We know why he doesn't want to talk about it, because he's said throughout the last 4 years that, oh, everything's fine, we're moving in the right direction. When we got videos of him saying this too. And the human toll, well, there's no homelessness. We don't care if they get displaced. Go move somewhere else. No, I'm not going to move somewhere else. I've lived here my whole life. I'm not going to move. But I want a safe city. I pay taxes for a safe city. That's why I'm not voting for you. I'm going to put somebody in here that's going to fix these problems, that's got a plan. That goes for the councilors. There were numerous councilors at both of those meetings that heard this, that heard the 55 shootings, the 3 to 4 carjackings a day. And at the Flint, there were councilors there that saw the police fundamentally not want to talk about crime to a neighborhood. And that's what they were there for. And like I said, we're not asking them to do something they've never done and that they shouldn't do. They used to print them in the newspaper. And I went to numerous neighborhood meetings in my time, and so have you, CJ. And we saw them break down every single crime. And don't tell me they can't, because they have to. Because when they report crime to the FBI data bank, it has to be broken down by crime. So they're knowingly not telling you because they don't want you, they want you to believe the political narrative, not the reality of Fall River. So with that, CJ, I'll turn it back to you.
Well, what was interesting was 2 city councilors who were there consistently are Michelle Dion and Andrew Raposo. And while I think it's admirable that Andrew is making these meetings, I mean, Michelle has done this regularly, so it's very admirable on her behalf as well. Andrew, in my opinion, doesn't vote for the way the people want him to vote. And I'll give you a good example. This past week, the Bank Street Armory came up for sale again. And they had a vote which was thought to be for a loan order. So Michelle Dion voted yes. And that put her on the prevailing side. Then when they sent that over for the city councilors to sign, she says, I didn't vote for this. And I guess they turned around and told her, well, it was a mistake. So as soon as they went back into session, she turned around and made a motion for reconsideration because it's not correct. So they voted for reconsideration, and they voted for that. And here's the kicker. When they voted for it a second time, the vote came out with a majority, but not the majority needed because they needed 2/3 of the city council, which is 6. And they did not have 6 members of the city council vote yes. Therefore, the Bank Street Armory did not sell. I'm wondering what we do with this now because, again, Alan Macomber threatened to withdraw his offer. So what's the people supposed to think? Okay, I understand Mr. Macomber's made an investment in putting together architects and people to review the property and what needs to be done. But guess what? A lot of other people have done the same thing. But Mr. Macomber, I don't believe you should get the property at $200,000 less than the people have already put into it. Number one, and number two, when the city council sent that property over to the redevelopment authority for sale, there was a contingency on it that the building cannot sell for less than its assessed value. And I know that $200,000 is less than the assessed value of the Bank Street Armory. So now the mayor needs to look at this and say, the people want this to be a community center or something along that line. Let's see how we can make it work. Let's see how we can make it work. I'm sick of hearing Seth Akins turn around and say, we can't do it. We don't have the money. You have the money to give to your friends, Mr. Mayor. You had the money to give $2 million to children, and we haven't seen where that money's going. Where you're spending all this opera money. Put $5 million of the opera money into the Bank Street Armory. Take some money from the Community Preservation Act money. Take some money from the state on the historic preservation. Put it all together. Then it won't be so much money. I know the maintenance and upkeep is something we're going to have to look at, and we know that the city has always been unwilling or unable to maintain buildings. But we need to make sure that it happens this time. We as the citizens need to make sure that it happens. We need to hold them accountable. We need to hold their feet to the fire. And if they don't want to do it, too bad.
Well, as Jeffrey just said, we need some new counselors because, listen, we have enough affordable housing in that area. Macomber has made enough money. That armory has tremendous historical value, and the people want it to be part of this city, to be part of that downtown area, to be a gathering place for the people of Fall River. It can be done. It will bring the community together. That's what we should do. We should do this because, and if you do this, and by the way, I believe he's got about, 36 million left in opera money? Or 33 million? It's over 30 million, so we got some money. But you don't think these people that are going to go there, you don't think there would be a committee that would get volunteers to do some work in there too? And maybe to raise some money because it's going to be for the community? But see, Paul doesn't care about bringing together this community. He wants to, he's like Biden, the great divider. If you're not rich, get out of town. If you live in public housing, shut up. Don't talk about homelessness. If you don't like it, go jump in the Taunton River. And again, that's another indicator, just like crime is, of the erosion of a nation. That is a lack of social cohesiveness, no sense of community. Paul doesn't care. He wants to create a new community of all rich people, because that's what he said. But you know something about promises? Sometimes they don't come true, and sometimes they take a lot longer than these people say. Because you know what happened? The commuter rail is not opening now at the accepted time. It's going to be a year, maybe. Remember, it took 10 years to paint the Braga Bridge? That thing may not be down here in 5 years. And even if it did get down here, as Senator Roderick said, it will not be the answer to all our problems. It may never get here, and when it gets here, it may not stay here. Because the T, I mean, listen, Colin Dyers and Nelson told you what a mess it was. They made a great PowerPoint presentation. The T is a mess. Their newest rail on the Green Line, the newest track, is already shut down. They can't lead a one-man parade, the MBTA, okay? And this is what you're going to bank your life on. No, we need city councilors who are going to bring this community together, save that armory, and start saying we've got to fix the problem here and now. Not with promises for the future, the checks in the mail, that T's coming, among others that are not G-rated that you can talk about. But the reality is, we need a city council that's getting that chair, hold a line on taxes, hold a line on fees, get accountability from the government. Oh, and speaking of the government, Paulie did what he's best at. He created another position. And I don't know what the name is. You'll have to look it up because it's a long, fancy name for another job in the finance department.
Financial analyst.
I'm sorry?
Financial analyst.
We need somebody to analyze the financial department. We got a CFO who they hired and paid more than they paid Mary Sahadi, I believe. And listen, I was no fan of Mary Sahadi, but I always give credit where credit is due. Mary knew the numbers. Mary didn't need all this help. She didn't need Aya Capone, and an analyst, and 17 other people to screw in a financial light bulb. She did it. She didn't give you the right numbers a lot, but she knew the numbers if you pressed her. And she didn't need any help. But this is what Paulie's great at. Taking a village to do what one person can do. Now he's hiring more help for her. Are they going to cut her pay? Are they going to get rid of Aya Capone? No. We need new councils, and you council candidates, you better get on this. Get on about that you support telling the people about crime, fixing the crime problem, demanding a plan to fix it from the mayor and the police chief, and not covering up everything in the city, because it is out of control, and it's great that it's happened before the final election. So you candidates for every office, get out there and because these are facts. That state police gang unit is a reality. That Operation Trident is a reality. 55 shootings is a reality. And the other reality is they're knowingly trying to cover it up by saying, oh, these people won't understand the difference. Well, I can understand the difference between shoplifting and murder. And even if you can't, you should know that there's crime, if there's crime, because that's what you're supposed to do. So over to you, CJ.
What's interesting is the one thing I'm hearing about this election cycle is nobody is telling anybody anything about what they're going to do or what they plan to do or how they plan to do it. The incumbents aren't doing it and the challengers aren't doing it. People want to know, but nobody's telling them. And just on the T, a story just came out in the Commonwealth magazine. MBTA expecting big improvement in red line performance. The red line chip? You remember that from
That was the line we took to Boston. For every arbitration and every trial we went to, we rode the red line many, many, many times, and I'm very familiar with it.
Yeah, and right now they have more tracks closed than anything else, but the MBTA is expecting big improvements. But we can't get a train here until next year, which they promised us the train this fall. It's now the fall, and guess what? Next year, and then when next year comes, this is the problem, okay? People buy what politicians say as though it's gospel, and it's not gospel. And here's where we come. I mean, I witnessed and I was surprised at Shauna O'Connell, the mayor from Taunton, saying that these extra stations that are open between Taunton and Fall River are going to generate economic development for communities like Asona and Freetown. Really? They need economic development in Asona and Freetown? I don't think so. I think that those towns are doing very well on their own, and they're not Fall River. And I don't believe that T is going to bring economic development to Fall River. I think it's going to bring a lot more crime. I believe it's going to bring a lot more homelessness. I believe it's going to bring a lot more people to take our services, which the city is paying for, which means we're going to be spending more money on this stuff. We can't afford it anymore. We can't. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I won't use the T if it's here. If it's here, I'll use the T. I know a lot of other people will use the T, but I'm not going to ride it as frequently as I guess the T thinks people are going to ride it, because there's no way we're going to generate enough revenue to justify paying for the T, the commuter rail to Fall River to Boston. It's not going to happen. As a matter of fact, they know it's so much that it's not going to happen that the trains are running a bus from Worcester to Providence, from Providence to Fall River, and then Providence to New Bedford, because they know the trains aren't there for them. So it makes it very interesting when you see.
Well, CJ, let me tell you something. If I take the T, I'm still not taking it from Fall River. Because I can get in my car and drive to Braintree faster than a T can get to Braintree. And that's a reality. So you're going to be stopping like you're delivering milk. It's a milk run. And it might break down. And that's the other issue. You better not be in a hurry if you've been on a T. If you're going on a T. People don't know that. You've ridden a T. I've ridden a T hundreds and hundreds of times. I remember delays, trains broken down, issues with the trains, and you sit in the car for 20 minutes, an hour sometime. Sometimes you have to change cars. Sometimes you have to be bused to another station. That all happens. And that's okay if you're going, well, it's not okay, but I mean, you can live with it if you're just going up there for a day in Boston. So if you get there an hour or two later, who cares? But if you're going to go to work, you're going to take that chance every day, especially with the T. Like I said, their newest track on the Green Line is already shut down for repairs. The newest track. And it's not coming anyway. And I'll believe it when it gets here. Because, they said it was going to, they were hoping to cut that ribbon before the election, or make the big promises. It's not coming till next year. And next year, who knows what they're going to do? Who knows what they're going to do? The state's in a mess. We got issues here. But let's see these candidates. Let's see these questions be asked at a debate. Ask the candidates where they stand on the armory. Ask the candidates if they feel that the people should be informed about crime. Ask the candidates if we deserve a plan to fix crime, homelessness, drug addiction. And if they answer yes, and they're a sitting councilor, with the exception of probably only Michelle Dion, they haven't done a damn thing. And I know that there were numerous councilors at the Maplewood meeting, and we haven't heard a peep about the 55 shootings from them. I trust Michelle Dion to fight for the people. The rest of those people, I'm sorry, but it's up to these new candidates to come out, take a position, tell people what you feel you need to do and can do and will support, to change Fall River. We're not going to change it by hiding everything. We still don't know what happened to Malone. I can't even remember now. It's so far back. I guess Terry Sullivan was right. Keep your mouth shut. Keep your head down. They'll go on to something else. We've had so many things happen since Malone. I already forgot how long ago it was. But I know one thing. We never got an answer. Not one. Not one answer about that entire cover-up. Just like we never got an answer about the drugs in the police department, John Perry's issues, all these other things. Never. How did a phone get wiped while it was in police custody that had evidence? We don't know. Has anything been ever done to fix that? We don't know. But we have to say that, listen, we need some people in there who are going to work for we the people who they swear an oath to. And that's what we have to do. We can't fix this city by ignoring everything. You know, Nancy Pelosi can do that. Nancy Pelosi lives in a multi-million-dollar house in a gated community, and if anybody gets within 1,000 yards of it, they'll have the National Guard, the entire San Francisco Police Department, and everything else out. But you walk to San Francisco, you've been there, I've been there, at one time one of the most beautiful cities. You're tripping over bodies, ODs, people shooting up in the middle of, defecating in the streets, urinating in the streets, ruined the city. Look what's happening to Philadelphia. You know, mob riots, destroying all the stores. You think those stores are going to stay in Philly? You think they're going to stay in Chicago? The $1 Million Mile's already shut down. No, be with Alice in Wonderland, the ones who say, oh, well, you know, I don't see any crime. Well, I guess you're not in the right place. But wait, it'll ultimately get to you, because it always does. So, but that's it. You know, these people who want this office have to go out and get it by telling the people what they're going to do about taxes, about crime, about homelessness, about drug addiction, and about transparency. The thing that Paul Coogan ran on and never, ever was transparent for 1 second during his nearly 4 years in office. So back.
Well, it makes it very interesting. You spoke about Nancy Pelosi. While you bring that up, um, Dianne Feinstein passed today. She was 90 years old. She was one of the first female senators, and she's the longest serving female senator from the state of California in the history of our U.S. Senate. Um, she was an amazing politician. Granted, she was a liberal, very liberal Democrat. Um, she fought for a ban on assault rifles, and she did that because of what happened to her when she was a city supervisor in San Francisco, and Mayor Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk were killed by guns by a former city supervisor who only got 3 years, by the way, um, for his crime. So, you know, she worked very hard. I mean, she wanted it. The ban that she got lasted for 10 years, and she met a lot of resistance. Even when Senator Ted Cruz took office as a young man, he attacked her on the rifle thing and tried to educate her on the Constitution. Well, guess what? She told him, "I really like the education, but that's enough." So,
Yeah.
and
Well,
just so you know, I have my T card, which I'll never use. It looks like.
well, CJ, I think Feinstein had her opinion, but again, it's an issue of should they, you know, should they be allowed to stay in that long? And I know at the end she was very debilitated. It was unfortunate, but hey, She served her constituency that they wanted her there, and that's the American way. The reality is, she was elected by the people, and they felt, her constituency felt that she was serving their needs and agenda. And unfortunately, we can you can agree or disagree, but that's the other thing. But I want to take note here. We did not have Wednesday show, and I will take full responsibility because unlike some of these keyboard warriors um, that spend their entire life trying to promote political agendas, unfortunately, I had to do some work. I am I am an elected one of the two elected members for the employees in the city of Fall River, and we had an extremely long retirement board meeting. And to remind you people that between '02 and 12, this city put in $89 million less than New Bedford did, and our retirement system went from above the median to the third, the second or third worst in the state. So we've been working to move that back up the ladder by ensuring that the city doesn't do that again. So, we don't just talk it. We're out there fighting all the time for what we believe in. And Feinstein did that, and may she rest in peace, because, as I said, whether I agree or disagree, uh, as long as they fight for their principles and what they believe in, I may not believe in them, but we do believe in free speech. But we don't. We're not going to listen to political talking points on this show. You have your show. You have Facebook. Go do it. We don't want to hear the borders closed. I don't believe it. 10,000 are coming across. I don't want to hear there's no inflation because I suffer it every day. I'm at a fixed income, and the reality is that we need we need new government. And as a matter of fact, I think Nikki Haley, and I'll close with this. I think Nikki Haley said what we've been talking about for years. We should have term limits for these people. We should have term limits. And at one time, I was an opponent, but now I'm not because some of these people just stay far too long and they get too powerful. See, that's the key. They get too powerful because when they stay in government, and as you said, Feinstein was the longest serving female senator in history. Kudos to her. But no matter who it is, Mitch McConnell on the Republican side, they stay too long. They become too powerful. You can't get them out because they have too much power. This is why I was always against 4-year mayoral terms. They got 4 years to raise funds, and then they can beat their opponent into the ground with their money in elections. I think if I had my way, we'd have an election every year. Because who is supposed to be the government? The people of this country. Massachusetts Constitution says there are substitutes and agents and answerable to us. What better way to make them answerable than having them come up every year for election? You notice how good they get at paying attention to you at election time? Imagine if we did it every year rather than every 4 years. If they had their way, they'd have lifetime terms. But I got to agree with Nikki Haley on that one. I believe in term limits now. But that, CJ.
Well, I agree with Nikki Haley too. I believe that we should have term limits, and at one time I thought about that long and hard as well. Well, I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, before I forget, on Sunday, October 1st at 11 a.m. at the VFW in Tiverton on Shrove Street is going to be a memoriam for Richard Urban. Richard Urban was a friend of this show, and we were a friend of his show. We appeared on his show numerous times. Richard did a lot of work for this community, serving the veterans, putting on the ceremonies at the various monuments throughout the city. He did that regularly. He taped it and aired it on local television. And I'll tell you now, he's going to be greatly missed. If you know Richard, if you did any work with Richard, if you believed in what Richard did and you want to pay some respects, go to the VFW on Sunday. This is the only public type of ceremony that there is. His funeral was kind of private. So So I want to thank you all for watching. Have a great weekend, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. I'll see you on Monday.